Naturalism is surely a kind of faith if it's taken in its radical form, like I was saying in my previous answer. If one is an ontological naturalist, then of course one believes, one has a certain form of faith that all what there is to reality is material. So there's just a material reality. This might put the naturalist insofar in a certain problematic position, because on the other hand, the naturalist is not just saying that all what there is material, but the naturalist has also to say, well, I'm following science wherever science leads us. So, and it seems that the more basic fundaments of reality, they become less and less material, in the sense that the deeper to go, the less materialized, at least in the traditional sense, the ultimate entity of reality seem to be. So once you reach the quantum level, it's not that we are still confronted with material entities as we understand them from our common sense perspective, but it seems that we lose sight of the materiality of these ultimate phenomena. So it might seem, or one might have the impression that at the end naturalism is really a kind of faith, in the sense that science is not backing up these naturalistic claims anymore, or at least the whole endeavor for formulating such a naturalistic claim becomes more and more difficult in the light of new physical discoveries in this sense. One might also say that even if it, at a higher level, if it comes to biology, for instance, there are now many people claiming that in order to understand certain biological phenomena, you have to think in a holistic way. So you cannot break down complex biological phenomena to simpler biological subsystems, but you have to take a view on the whole complex feature or phenomenon that you want to investigate. So this might be another, at least, frontier, barrier, where it gets harder and harder for really hardcore naturalists to put their program, which at the end is a reductionist program, into practice. So I think that science itself, also the term science, maybe I might add also this thought, there is not one science, but there are many different sciences, and there's also not one scientific methodology, but many different scientific methodologies. So it seems that naturalists are very often assuming a kind of harmony, a kind of unity within the sciences, but once you look at the sciences themselves, then you don't find this harmony, you don't find this unity anymore, but you find just many different approaches to reality, many different methodologies, many different research programs, and they don't seem to have like one or a few core features which they all share. So it seems that the scientific progress, scientific process as such is more disordered and less organized as it is sometimes assumed from the side of naturalistic minded philosophers. One might also say that naturalism is a certain form of faith, in this sense that the optimism certain naturalists have in the progress of science, that this optimism comes from the past. It comes from, like, they seem to be inclined to think that since science was so successful in the past, this progress, this succession of success will also continue in the future, and at some point in the future, so to say, the scientific success will encompass all of reality. So what they seem to assume is that we can make the inference that a glorious past, so to say, legitimates us to assume that also the future will be glorious, and that at the end natural science will explain everything there is to be explained. However, one might say that on the one hand, you cannot make this inference from the past towards the future. We just don't know what the future brings. It might also be that the scientific progress, however, or no matter how successful it was in the past, that it comes to a certain end, that there are just certain limits of what can be known. I mean, you were mentioning ethical issues, so one might say that ethics is very important to, at least when it comes to the human existence. We are all the time confronted with ethical issues, but they don't seem to be part of science in the sense that science can solve ethical issues, but you need arguments, you have to reason about ethical issues. So this seems to be just one important feature of our human existence, of our human perception of reality also, which is not covered by science anymore. And it seems that this is not just a matter of complexity. It's not just that you can say, well, we don't know now, but we don't know yet, but we will know it in the far future. But it seems to be an in principle, just one in principle barrier which science is not able to surpass.